instant reaction pod for the Acolyte.
Yeah. Full team for first time in a while.
Yes, indeed. I'm actually reorganizing our thing. I forgot to do it. So if you're watching on YouTube, that animation is not production value. It's the opposite of production value.
Was I sitting in the amphitheater again? Was that?
Yeah. Oh man, I wish we could do that because we're the only 3 users of Skype. And yeah, during the pandy, we would put ourselves in the amphitheater as we recorded for laughs.
Oh, those are
whatever works.
Yeah,
those were.
It worked for me.
I mean, our comms are a little better than the transponders the Jedi are using. I've got to say,
true, real talk. It's great to be back with you guys. I listened to your pod. Excellent. Loved all that coverage y'all did. I love the light whip reference on the back there. That was sick.
Yeah,
we were quick to that.
Grant blew my mind. Yep.
Yeah, that was.
No, it was all
20 minutes after
my
air. No, I mean an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh,
yeah.
Preamble, of course, but
yeah, I love the.
It was there in the show. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I know. I think it's going to bear fruit. I think that theory is going to bear out. Yeah, bunch of great lines you guys had. I loved that we were extra. We're Star Wars fans extra. I think that includes us and everyone who listens to us. That's like that's a really.
I thought that was a polite way of saying we a lot of Star Wars intake over here.
Yeah.
Like fire hydrant.
Yeah, all the Star Wars really. But I mean, it's nice to identify. It's like differentiate a little bit. This is because we are a little weird. We're a little different. We got a small team of experts of fans that follow us and talk, listen and think about Star Wars with us. And that's just what we're niche. I think we're niche, but it's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're Star Wars extra.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, great stuff. Grant, you said something like when a Jedi fights a Sith, they essentially become a Sith. And I thought, yeah. I'm like, I can't argue with that. It's like suddenly, especially now, it seems like all the content has, everyone's super pacifist. They're like really hammering the pacifist Jedi nature, and it's like we don't kill. But it's like we've seen plenty of Jedi kill, and there's a great line in the new book. I'm going to try and expunge my mind. I just read all of Temptation of the Force on my vacation. I was thinking a lot about Star Wars on vacation. That's what I do when I'm relaxed.
We will be reviewing that in the future, I hope.
Yeah, there's a great Yoda.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's a great Yoda quote about killing in that, which is fascinating. But yeah, and then, I think it's true. It's like, well, so what's the difference? Why can you suddenly kill people? Like, I think that's a great question to think about.
Yeah, it comes up in this episode, which I think we'll talk about because it like pacifism almost leads to more death in this episode in a weird way. Which is, I consider myself a pacifist, an individual pacifist. But anyway, I thought this episode was really interesting. Like it kind of showed you every possible like option and how there's no clean way. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it kind of played out the way I thought it was gonna play out, where it's like it wasn't gonna be like Jedi bad, blah blah blah. Like mistakes were made, but for virtuous reasons. Like it was a mistake and it was right.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. I mean, just the fact that we got the episode that was the flashback episode, the other half of the coin flashback episode. Choice was the name of this, right?
Yeah. I think we can finally kind of
Destiny
analyze.
It's going to be the name of episode 8.
Now that we have this crucial information that Soul's been hinting at for 6 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like kind of about time. Yeah.
Can I tell you my instantaneous reaction to this episode?
Please.
This thing.
That's what we're doing.
So for a show that I thought was like really doling out information rapidly in a way that was really fulfilling. Sorry, I set that up as if I'm going to say something contrary, which I'm not.
Never.
I now felt like, oh, they're getting through so much and there's still so many episodes left. And inevitably, I'm still like, there's one episode left. There's no way they could tie us all up. Like, I feel like this episode answered questions, but still like, what happened? We still don't know what happened to May at the end of the day, right? Like, we still don't have that side of the story. at the very end of this episode. Like that is still a hanging.
Yeah, there's
thread
some
that needs to be
mouth-watering
addressed.
cliffhangers in this show.
That's a good point.
What comes next?
I didn't think about May. I mean, they could just play it like, well, she endured. She's very strong in the Force. Like,
but remember, it had that when we saw the flip side of this episode, which was episode 3, right? Was 3 the flashback? Yeah. Where it kind of has that like Return of the King additional ending at the very end where she kind of sees herself in front of the tree, and it's very ominous, right?
Yeah.
Like there's another presence there, right? Which I'm guessing we're gonna get a little bit of that. But boy, they got a lot of things to do. Which I'm like, is this a single episode miniseries, or are they just come on? This got to be multiple seasons, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd love one, I really want them to tie bow on this one season. Just personal taste. I just think like there's so much time between these things. It's like I want to go back and have rewatch value, and like it's easier to digest when when there's sort of a bow, when good triumphs over evil at the end of these stories.
Yeah. This is my thing about.
I did want more at the end of this episode. I was like, I was hoping just a little tease of sort of the Maze time by the tree and where she goes after that. Because,
right?
It makes me wonder. I've seen Vernestra walk through the jungles of Kofar and sort of do the psychometry and sense what happened there. I was like, does she go to every site the Jedi go to and investigate and sort of do a once over on every crime scene and sort of like understand the darkness that's in the Order? Like there is just a lot of cover-ups. A lot of things are just not discussed. It's like, is Vernestra that person? Like sort of
Vern is
the dark.
Yeah, she could be that person. Like that could be her whole thing. Is she's the Sherlock Holmes of the Jedi Order? But she could also be the person that's like the cosmic force, like oracle for the Jedi, because she's also good at that too, right? Like remember, like she can like meditate whenever she goes in hyperspace. She senses the cosmic force. Like she could make path engines like Mari Santeca, right? It seems like they have similar thing. Like she, like Vernestra is so OP. She can do whatever she wants. And 100 years after the Republic, I can't believe she's not on the council.
But wait, so news of a Virgins in the Force gets to the Jedi Council on Coruscant. Is Vernestra Rowe not immediately,
dispatched?
Driven to go there? Check that out.
Well, they did the thing last episode where they brought up the fact that she hates traveling through hyperspace, right? That issue. So my reading of Vern is that like she's kind of just a homebody Jedi. Like I have a feeling she doesn't leave Coruscant ever.
Isn't that from the Great Hyperspace Disaster though, and her having lived through that and sort of?
Well, doesn't she get like visions?
Like, yeah, whenever she travels through hyperspace, she gets like massive visions. That was like one of the things.
Like really,
Everyone's terrified of hyperspace after that. Phobia.
Yeah.
So I feel like that, but I feel like that's a way of like tamping down her OP, right? Because she's super OP, but she never leaves the temple, so she never gets to actually like use it.
Right? That's a possibility. Yeah.
But I was like, who does May meet by the tree? Like Vernestra and Chimere? Like, and Chimere falls and they still know each other or something? I don't know. Or
maybe.
Just,
I don't know.
Depends how old
I think
Chimere.
I think Chimere's old.
How old is Chimere? Right? I love this.
He says he's very, very old. I think Chimere's back to the days.
So did Andy Serkis when playing Snoke, but it's like
let's not. Let's not.
Did Snoke ever say he was really old?
Sorry. I can't. No, I don't know if he says he's really old. I think we just assume.
Well, back to the question at hand. How old is Chimere?
I think my headcanon, which means nothing because like this is all just so up in the air, but is that like Chimere and Vern? I thought they were just going with Vern now, which is her nickname in the books.
She'd strike us down with her light whip if she knew we were calling her that. But I still kind of love that it's Jedi Vern.
But who calls her Vern? Someone calls her Vern.
I think
that's not a thing.
Well, they start to. I think it was Imri and Kentara.
Wait, so can we talk about her ship being called the Kentara?
Yes.
Wait, 1 second.
On the data bank?
Let me finish.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that spicy news came out.
So my headcanon is that Chimere and Vern know each other from like the days of the Nihil, right? Like I think they date back really old. I think he's unnaturally young, right? Through the power of the dark side is my reading. That's just my thought, because he says it like that's one of the two main lines of the last episode that like is stuck in my brain, is that he says like I didn't know you, like I don't remember you, and he's like I'm old. He says something like I'm very old.
Or the island he's on.
Oh no, it was like a very long time ago
where he just but it's the cortosis like keeps him
right. That's the line. A very long time ago.
It's like the minerals and rocks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna buy into like he was Vern's Padawan theory, which makes so much sense, I would probably place it shortly after the Nihil thing, like like where she's like maybe in her 20s and like taking another like Padawan. I don't know, sometime after, like within 10 years probably.
Yeah. So when Indara hints at the great hyperspace disaster and sort of like embeds this show in the High Republic in a major way, you're just kind of like, this is incredible. Yeah. Like this just sounds awesome. Like I almost want to just start exploring everything in this era.
That's the perfect way to do it.
Yeah,
it's
like
one
I cannot
sentence.
wait.
It's just one sentence for the Star Wars extra fans.
It's like bang.
Yeah.
So this is the first episode I have not watched with Carly because she, her brother's in town. This is the one that he can hang out. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to watch Star Wars and talk about it on a podcast, so I can't hang out.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that too, but
love
I
you,
really don't. It doesn't bother me.
I know, but I'm like the one night we can't hang out with his Tuesday. And it's, of course, the one night. But he's there for work. Anyway, so she went out. I'm like, you can go out. She's like, I won't be able to watch Acolyte with you. I'm like, it's okay. And now she's watching it right now. Like, she got home. She got home right when Kalnaka, like, lit up his lightsaber. And she literally walked in the door and was, like, doing this, walking across. She didn't want to see what was happening. So, like, I paused it. So she's watching it now. But I wish I'd watched it with her, because that line of just, like, I guarantee she would be like, what's that a reference to? I'm like, oh, like the entire book
the
series
beginning of the High
like
Republic novel series.
Of the High Republic.
Did you ever do the experiment that you said you were going to do last week with her, where you asked her if she saw a light whip? You probably don't remember this.
Oh no,
well,
I did not. I don't remember. It was a long pod and a lot of drinks. But I will. I may have had double Manhattan and then gone downstairs.
Two, I think. According to the pod, I think you had two.
I just started.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. And I think there was a couple beers mixed in there too. So I did my own research on that with Jenny, and she saw it. It made me think of it, because Jenny goes, "Wait, there's bendy lightsabers," and she also called the stranger the guy in the hat. So I'm going to have trouble thinking of him as anyone other than the guy in the hat. Oh, no. I'm like, at the beginning sequence, I'm like, Jenny, look at all the hats.
Yep.
All right, Grant, how old is Chimere? You're the one that came up with the Vernestra theory. What's up?
I don't think he's that old. I feel like it's, it's hard to say, but maybe it's like 20 years ago. Remember, in Star Wars, people are capable of forgetting about entire religious
in 20
galactic
years.
events
in 10 years.
20 years is enough time. Yeah. That's like 9. That's like 9/11. For us, I guess, is like sort of like that happened 23 years ago. But for them, that's like when the Romans were doing things.
Teaching people.
Who's to say
has actually made me more accepted?
He's clearly on the planet Baldemnik from the Legends, book. Darth Plagueis.
Love that.
So go on about Baldemnik. Grant, send this around.
Yeah, because I am
totally on board.
And it's like,
what's a Baldemnik?
Are we getting Plagueis in this show? Is this show gonna go hard in the paint? Is it gonna happen?
I still like Ben's theory of just like bigger fish, right? Like this idea of just like I think that's how this season ends, or I'm going to call it seasons, because I want tied up, but I want more in this era. So I'm going to say season. No, I'm totally on board. And again, my whole thing with last episode is like, you don't say unknown planet unless it's a relevant planet to Star Wars.
Don't you want to go planet hopping with Chimere as he's exploring the underworld or something? And it's meets Plagueis like 2 seasons down the line. Like that
and Tenebris too. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure, like, according to the legends, like
Ben is adamant about Tenebris.
Dude. No, I mean, he's the real big fish, man, because like we didn't get much of him in the Plagueis novel by Lucino. That's what we're referring to what like the first scene in that book takes place on Beldemnik. There are cortosis like veins in the rock, and so this could very much be that planet. That's why Grant's so excited about Beldemnik and why I could tie it. But Tenebris, like, he's my white whale, dude. Like, I want to see him. But like, according to that timeline, I think like Plagueis would be 16, so he would be like a brand new apprentice to Tenebris, which may be why the stranger Chimere wants his own acolyte, right? He's like, well, if I get a young, then I'm still keeping up with Tenebris, and like that could be the thing,
right? That's super fascinating. If like right now, it's kind of like a pyramid scheme, a Sith pyramid scheme, right? But like, I love his idea that like he's in competition right now.
That.
Also, I'm laughing at your dog. I'm laughing at Audrey behind you because it looks like there's just a ghost behind you.
The thing moved. Yeah, she's
moving in the
Darth
background.
Audrey right now. She got under the blanket and her little snoot is sticking out. So it's just like her eyes. She's got her like sensory deprivation helmet on.
Yeah. See, this is why you should watch this on YouTube.
Yeah, I was in, we'll call it Glianslum because that's what Grant called it. I got this sweet T-shirt. I know what you're wondering, and the answer is yes. It is blacklight reactive.
Nice.
But I watched the episode 6 on my phone with like noise canceling headphones on.
I know.
And it was the greatest morning. Like Jenny was snoring away, and I always wake up early, and so I was like, it was so fun.
I at least watched episode 5 on an iPad
for bed.
But Carly and I watched it with the audio from the iPad, which is like the tinniest audio you've ever heard.
Yeah, it was nice listening to it in headphones. I've never had that experience before, and I'm forgetting the guy's name who writes all the music, but he's phenomenal. And I'm sorry I don't have his name handy. I will Google that as soon as someone else starts talking.
I got nothing.
We mentioned him in the first couple episodes, and I adore his score. It's like. It's just like a cousin to John Williams. Like it's the very same vibe.
But he's using really John Williams scores. Yeah. He's using scores. Kylo's score is in this episode.
It's in this one too?
Yeah. What during the lightsaber fight? Yes, it's in this one during the lightsaber fight with Kanaka. I'm like, and I don't. Again, I will fully admit this. I talk about this all the time. I am music dumb, so like I don't hear stuff. So if I hear it, it's there. Like I'm like, I stopped and I'm like, that's Kylo's theme, and I backed it up. I'm like.
That's so wild because that was the that was a theme that showed up earlier, confirmed I think by Leslie that they used Kylo's theme. I mean that I don't give too much credence to the like Ren, the Knights of Ren theory, but you don't. I mean, once is like a freak incident, twice is more than a maybe once is a coincidence, twice is maybe something more.
Yeah, Michael is Leslie Headland Abels or
Abels? Yeah,
Abels. There you go.
Yeah.
Is Leslie trying to thread the ultimate needle, which is like I feel like the show's doing a great job of tying in High Republic and the prequels. Like I really think it's doing that masterfully. Like I feel like it's there. Like I feel like these two eras feel completely.
Oh,
connected.
And the prequels too. Really?
Like, oh yeah. Now, right. The prequels are right there. They're
Dude,
like
M-word.
I feel like so prequels and
I don't know how the order didn't spiral out of control earlier. Honestly,
hold on.
With just
sorry, we keep.
I know
in this episode. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. But my point is like I feel like she's doing such a good job of like connecting the High Republic to the prequels, and now she's like, for my next trick, I'm going to bring in some sequel stuff, which is like. Amazing, like to be like, nope, I'm gonna be like the one. This is why I feel like give her everything. Again, I haven't seen episode 8, but give her everything. Like she's able to like pull all of this lore together that makes this show feel completely legitimate and connected to everything. It's wild. She's
John Kasdan and Larry Kasdan in one person.
100%.
This show just hits so hard. And it's rules. It's just a great show. Just the lightsaber stuff, like Corbin blocking arrows in this episode was
fire.
Oh my god!
And
give me 20 minutes of that.
Get in this episode as sort of like this turning point for Soul, like this quick, like see as sort of like horror like here in front of you, like a sort of react that's all in slow motion, and it's
okay, I'm going to say something really
interesting scene.
I'm going to say
it's a cool shot nonetheless, but we'll talk about the motivation. We'll talk.
Can I ask a wild question?
Some sense of it.
Not wild. I may be overselling it. So, in my opinion, like George in episode 6 in Return of the Jedi and episode 5, but I think in episode 6, masterfully does the idea of using a lightsaber duel to move the plot forward, right? Like that. Like one of my favorite things in all of Star Wars is the throne room duel in episode 6.
Yeah,
like that is amazing. I think Leslie Headland is up there. I'm not going to say she's surpassed, but I think she's up there using lightsaber battles to move plot forward.
Adam saw done Wookiee it twice. Fly through the air with a lightsaber.
I mean, I don't even get me started. That's amazing. But telling the story
in a man's
of
head almost
whole thing
against a wall
by a
Wookiee
so freaking
with a
great.
lightsaber.
By the way, we're all going to talk about our props, but I called it when they were like, why is he out of focus in episode 3 in the background? It's because he got his face scratched out by a Wookiee. But my point is, like, I feel like that slow motion moment, which we'll talk about if we ever go through the episode moment by moment, does a lot of heavy lifting in storytelling. It really does. Right? Of just like, I don't blame him for what he did, but it was rash. Like, it's just such a hard thing. But like, you see someone turn to smoke and becoming a monster, and you're a Jedi and you have a lightsaber. Maybe you stab that thing, right? Like, it's hard. Like, it does such a good job. I think
Kylo and the Rashomon flashback there, and take witness of this moment in particular, because in this moment, people are falling from grace and
everything
losing
changes.
Their morals.
It hinges in that moment. It's like one of those things where like he was wrong, but I don't blame
I was
him.
thinking about calling this episode from a soul point of view.
Okay.
Or Jedi Karens. I didn't know.
Oh, from a soul point of view.
Or I want to return to Coruscant, maybe?
Jedi Karens.
Oh, God.
Take me back.
I know. Jedi
Karens. A coven that needs to see the manager.
The thing is, it's like...
Somebody let Torben get on the next transport.
I know. Just let him go.
I think Torben might be up there for the worst, like the worst Star Wars character. Not worst, because that sounds like it's the most annoying Star Wars
character
of all
time.
I think he surpasses Jar Jar. That's amazing. I don't. But the thing is, here's the thing: as a person who grew up in a small town and only wanted to get back to the city, I kind of identify with him. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, was I that annoying when I was like, oh, I'm gonna get back to Boston?
Was like Luke going to Tashi Station for power converters. Yeah. It was.
Yeah,
same tone, same energy.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we start from the beginning? I guess
probably
because we do that. I guess, and even though it was a long preamble, we got into most of our things. But for the sake of, I don't want to miss anything because it's another great episode.
It's a classic SWTOR fetch quest that's underway.
Yeah.
It's so here's the thing. I will say this is probably my least favorite episode of this series, and It's at the bottom, and there's a gap between this and the next one up. However, really enjoyed it. That's just my level of this show. So didn't hate it.
I thought of Adam when we were seeing all the Jedi surveying the landscape and collecting all the different organisms and flora. And,
they tried to do the drudgery of what
you're thinking
of
me,
just categorizing.
You're thinking of me doing all the side quests in Red Dead Redemption 2 first,
collecting samples in a giant, I don't know, carafe.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was.
Yeah,
I don't know, but apparently there's midichlorian metal detectors, but we'll talk about that.
Oh yeah, there was Indara in the first scene. Soul is out there collecting I don't know, some grass or some moss or something.
Yeah,
and
Kelnaka with a metal detector. Yeah, I was like, you couldn't do better than that.
Midichlorians here. I know, I agree.
Wait, where are the droids?
Right. Isn't there a droid for that?
It's just where are
good question. I feel like these are, as much as we know they kind of have the secret and they all go off to do penance for this, I would say, somewhat minor infraction.
Wouldn't you want droids like body cams with all your Jedi? Like if you ran the order, wouldn't you put a droid with every Jedi master and Padawan, and then it's like a body cam essentially, and it's like
yes,
goes straight.
Don't get Adam started. I'll say it for you, Adam. There was a lot of like Jedi are the police references through this whole series, and that was a little tough for me to swallow. I never thought of them like that, and the whole like all the you are under arrests, and like Yord is like such a cop, and
Yord is.
Wait, no, but people fearing that the twins are in danger when they're playing under a tree, and I was like, they're playing under a tree unsupervised. I mean, they're not.
I mean,
mistakes were made.
Maybe the name of this episode, maybe this episode should be called "What About the Children?"
What about the
children? Like
Mother Coral?
It's so.
How dare you?
I was so like, I don't understand this culture, so I'm gonna immediately assume that the kids are in danger.
Yeah, I mean, it was more like when he saw them when she was kicking the kids around with the force battles.
The castle.
Sorry.
Yeah, when she was okay. Whoa.
What is happening?
When she was training them in a different way than the Jedi train their kids.
You sound like Chimera now.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. I honestly, I might be kind of dark side after the series. It might have worked perfectly. I think
that's the goal.
More than
so, I talked to Jason today, and he was one of his disagreements with your pod last week, and I can get on board with it. It was sort of like you touched on it, but you didn't go deep into like who was getting taught and who was getting corrupted last week. I mean, because you could make the argument that Chimera was the teacher.
Who's being taught and who's being corrupted?
Yeah, you could make the argument that Chimera was.
Oh,
teaching.
In terms of like the dichotomy of Soul and Chimera,
yes.
What they're doing with each twin in the episode. I know that was a lot of what I heard about. That's a lot of the commentary I heard later in the week. But I was just like, I feel like that's important in the episode, but at the same time, I don't think Chimera is a master like Soul. Right. I think to say they're 1-to-1 is just I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just.
And so I just rewatched it, and literally like Osha says, "Is this how you corrupted my sister?" Like she uses the word corruption, like you are trying to corrupt me.
But maybe scenes. That place where they are is maybe it's just like we saw in this episode, how when someone's possessed, they sort of are taken to a astral, projected environment or something. And like Chimera, like she's in different clothes and like it just feels like idyllic, but I don't know. But at the same time, it feels like Baldemnik, and there could be like deep EU lore that's explored there, and it's just all canonized and ties the High Republic to the EU to the prequels.
Yeah,
it just does everything.
So to bring it back to that critique, I agree, and I was playing around with that in my brain last week, and I don't think we ever really got to talk about it because I feel like, and this episode kind of supports the alternative argument that Chimera is teaching and Soul is corrupting. We won't know until
next week, probably.
And I find those we won't know, but like it's that weird thing of like I think Chimera. Here's the weird thing. Chimera used the truth to corrupt, and Soul used a lie to teach, which is complicated. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that Chimera is teaching Osha about the dark side throughout the entire episode, and it's this sort of like entrance into that. But at the same time, I also feel like almost nobody was teaching on that episode other than possibly Vernestra in the scene where she's like, what do you see to Moog or whatever?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like that was actual teaching.
That was the teaching moment.
Yeah.
I thought.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for getting that out of the way.
A really constructive teaching moment.
Yeah.
Not like embrace your darkest emotions and murder me if you want to. That's
you can
it's kind of a different.
You can make the argument that Osha's like there's just so much meta stuff in this show, which is meant to sort of like. Yes. Nod to what you're thinking about, and then like there was a moment where I was wondering if who like if there was going to be the switch you guys talked about where what's his name Soul like did that.
So,
no, sorry, hold on. But
we don't want to go here. So
I know. No, or let's shelve that one. But like
more. No. We're not going to shelve it. But it's just like the Kelnaka thing, and like now in this episode and sort of the head fakes with the twins. I was just like, or especially Soul and sort of him identifying Osha when it was in fact May from audience point of view. But then again, audience point of view, like this is still something that I think it's just Leslie Headland just actively playing with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And Coconut is actively playing with, and I think that's why, there's so much hype around these kind of 2 flashback episodes, because this is A, I would say, and the story we're watching has been B the entire time, and C is about to happen in the next episode.
Yeah,
which is,
but so it's just like these sort of meta like head fakes that happen with you. There's another one with in episode 6 with Osha, and she's it's breaking down her walls, and Chimere keeps trying to insinuate that she's been completely brainwashed, that her memory isn't the memory that she has. And like this episode says, like pretty much it is what it is. I mean, yes, she was. They expanded on. They never gave her the full details, but they didn't lie to her.
That's the thing. They didn't lie. Yeah. They just withheld, but they didn't lie. There's no lie. I was watching that very clearly. It's like, and the other thing is like you go back to Chimere. Is like I have a feeling he feels that any Jedi, from his perspective, Jedi are brainwashing.
Yeah.
Right. No matter what their teachings are, it's a brainwashing. Right. So in his mind, it's also accurate that she's been brainwashed. It's a weird. It's that thing of like everyone's right in their own brain.
He's also being a troll.
So we're still at the. He is being a troll. We still are at the opening scene of the episode. The one thing I wanted to say is that I feel like isn't this team like, and they call it out, like they clearly are not popular amongst the Jedi.
You don't think? You think there's?
They've been there what? They've been there 7 weeks digging up soil samples when you could have a droid do it. Yeah, they're like the unpopular kids.
A virgins. I mean, that was such a huge reveal.
Wait, so okay. All right.
We're there. We're there.
Let's talk about that. We're there. We're there. Yeah.
So after they sort of are collecting like moss and flowers and different.
Yeah, Tobin has a hissy fit, and then they figure out.
Yep.
Is hissy fit okay?
I don't know.
I think we talk about Dara talks to Soul. There's like a campfire scene, and like like don't offend like Kelnaka's cooking, which is all I want at this point. Is just a meal by Kelnaka.
Right.
Kelnaka.
It looked good. It looked like he had the like 5 spice going on that. Whatever.
Before Mind Takeover, yeah. I think then in Dara talks to Soul about him being a teacher, like him taking on a Padawan, and how because he's unsure of that, that's why he doesn't have one. Essentially, that was my read of the scene.
Real shade.
Shade.
He's kind of unsure, and then it was I think, but that was a major setup, which it didn't really hit as a major setup, but it I think it was supposed to set up sort of these motivations.
Like the through line of the entire.
Going to find something here in this virgins or this force energy that they're sensing. So
it was that was interesting. I mean, so in Dara, great in Dara episode, it's established early. I was wondering very much who Torbin's master was. I really thought it was Kelnaka actually before I saw this episode, but it's clearly in Dara. She's sort of the alpha of this group. She's running it. She's the most senior Jedi on the squad.
She doesn't introduce him as my Padawan Torbin in the initial flashback?
I don't think so.
Episode.
Maybe I'm misremembering. I could be totally wrong, but I don't. I feel like they added little new things into this flashback. Obviously, we started as a flashback. Like, because I was like, are we going to see everything? I don't want to see everything again.
We kind of did,
but I
that might be my biggest complaint.
I feel like there were other little added scenes or extended scenes in this one though. That sort of
they're definitely yeah. Anytime they cut back to them talking about what we had seen in episode 3, I was engaged. But boy, for the longest episode of the season, the reason it was the longest episode of the season is because they kept showing us scenes we had already seen from a slightly different camera angle. Anyway, moving on.
But well worth getting more Carrie-Anne Moss and Jodie.
Yes, 100%.
In my opinion, this is some of the strongest performances we've seen in the show thus far.
Carrie-Anne Moss killed it as Indara. That was great.
Good.
Yeah, Trinity Moss, doing her work.
Well, it explains why. Like I remember she dies in episode 1, and we're just like, wow, that's like, why do you do that? Other than like, but the flashbacks, it's clear, like this is where she did all of her work.
Yeah. really great. So then they're there. We follow them. I think we see
Soul in the woods. We see Soul lurking around the tree.
Yeah,
skulking through the woods.
Yeah. So he can
follow, which we see in episode 3, but we see it from the other angle, and it's so much weirder in the
from the other angle. It's like you're not even hidden.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Like the Qui-Gon Jinn overlap is interesting, but I don't know. I don't know if Qui-Gon would ever like. Yeah, I don't know. Qui-Gon doesn't. It feels a little bit more passive. This feels like a little bit more aggressive mentorship, where it's like, you know, I'm gonna take this kid on as a Padawan. Where it's Qui-Gon was like. Check your blood. I'll send it back to the ship. We'll have a good time. It'll be
fun.
Right.
He was a little more casual. I mean, until he got to the council, and then he was like pissed.
A little bit more laid back.
Well, also a lot more years between them, right? In terms of like, I feel like Soul now is more like now, but whatever that means. But like is more like Qui-Gon, and who knows what Qui-Gon was like when he was, younger. I didn't understand
like ghosting on the council though. I didn't understand not.
Well, I mean that's very Qui-Gon.
But like in that way, it felt a little bit forced. Whereas Qui-Gon was like, our ship is broken down. Like I don't know. We'll reach out to people when we need to reach out to people. You know what I mean? Like about this, but I guess they don't send comms because there's a war effort happening on Naboo. Hey. They don't want,
Here's a question. Why don't I just derail us completely?
Into the prequels.
Why didn't he just call the Jedi Council and say send the ship to Tatooine?
Right, like is there a comm? The whole thing with like send us a ship.
Right. There's no comm. Anyway, sorry. Right. We don't have to go down that road.
Don't break the Phantom Menace from me, Adam.
Nope, it's great.
And I'm expunging that knowledge, and it's gone.
Nope. Never. Yeah.
What was on a log?
Sorry.
You can send,
Yeah.
Nope. I don't know.
High Republic.
Yeah. So what's the next new thing to happen? Because it's like we see a lot of stuff from another point of view.
Soul follows them to the castle, infiltrates the castle, scales the wall.
Yeah, that was fun.
Which was
scales the wall.
What I was like, you
tries the door first.
We got to learn about Force.
It's like very Jedi.
Try the door.
Which I do appreciate. Like they always try to announce themselves, I guess, and then
you just break in.
Doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, Soul is a maniac in this episode. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very Qui-Gon though.
Just like Luke is a maniac going after his nephew. I'm like, you guys are out of control. Like this is not what you are. You're a honed monk. Like way of the warrior and peace and utilitarian. Like
we're not all Obi-Wan.
But I feel like no, that's the thing I'm starting to feel like, because I feel like the Soul we are accustomed to in this show develops because of the mistakes he makes in this episode.
Yeah.
Right? Like I feel like
if I had a bad dream about you, I wouldn't attack you the next day.
Right.
I'd be like, that was a terrible dream. I'm going to talk to you. We're going to sit on a bench. You know what I mean? Or attack you in your sleep, nonetheless, like Luke did. It's like, and then Soul is like, I need this. Divergence is the key to like my mentor. I need to mentor this kid. I have a connection. I was like,
but we don't know.
Okay, calm down. Like it's such an explicit connection. It's such a like outspoken connection that it's almost like, well, let's first just let everyone sort of to each their own find their path in this dynamic.
Yeah, but we don't know who Soul is at this point, right? We only know who Soul turns out to be. And like I feel like he's just not a good Jedi at this point, and I feel like he becomes a good Jedi because of this.
Yeah, and let me make an argument.
I agree. I 100%.
Let me say it like this, Grant. I mean, the original 6 movies, the Jedi we saw and like knew were Mace Windu, Yoda, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And like that's kind of it, and then ultimately Luke Skywalker, right? And Luke is the sort of Padawan. All that. I mean, you have the most OP, wise, and high level
council
like Jedi there are, and we know that actually Mace effed up, right? So actually he kind of whatever, but he wasn't perfect.
Mace was actually key to confronting the plot and saving the Republic.
Right. Yeah.
It's just that Anakin had the quickest change of heart known to narrative history.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if Mace had included him, well, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, really, the only Jedi we know are OP, amazing, the quintessential Jedi. But like, there's tens of thousands of others, and they're not all Obi-Wan, Yoda, Mace Windu, Anakin, Luke.
Yeah. Only
Leia.
what, like 10
others can even argue
the
that
council out of thousands.
The best Jedi as well, right? And so I'm hearing a lot of.
Again, they were sent to a planet. They were sent to a planet to collect soil samples. Right. I have a feeling they are not anywhere near the level of Jedi we're used to seeing. And my big thing with this episode is like, never like noticed that there were other things going on this planet.
Wait, and so they've been doing this for like 7 standard weeks or something?
Yeah.
So there's
7 weeks, and they never...
kind of this... They kind of are kind of being driven,
so there was
mad by just like, being out there collecting samples all day.
There was a line
that you can't escape in Jedi is this sort of like unhealthy habits that locked into, I don't know, sort of menial tasks.
This is punishment. They've effed up before.
This is a wild like narrative.
I would send droids with them. I would be like a droid with each party at least.
Right.
Like 4 to 5 Jedi get a droid that just is sort of cambot.
Well, we've talked about those like not any chunky droids. I think offline, but like there's maybe there's something going on with droids right now that we don't know about because there's none of the like these droids doing awesome stuff.
None.
Yeah. And there would have been even in the High
Republic.
Saw a
sweet Jedi
or the Jedi
too. It's like where's the droid?
Yeah. Right.
There's no droid hitched onto there or something.
You could have fit 3 astromechs in those speeders, by the way. Those things were huge.
Because a droid's commentary would have saved this group of Jedi. I will just say that right now. I'll make this thesis.
Yeah.
A droid's commentary on what was happening would have saved this group of Jedi.
No. So
it would have been like within Dara, like common sense sort of approach.
So Ben, you asked kind of what's the next new thing that happens. Like, not a ton. We get like when Soul comes back. Like, here's the thing about this episode. Not to make it a bigger thing. It's like every scene between the scenes that we saw happens kind of like that doesn't give me new information. It's things I assumed happened. Like, so Soul comes back and says, I saw the girls. I'm worried about it. It's a cult. Yada, yada, yada. Come see. Can't talk to the council.
Right,
they go
but
back.
He reports it's
there's still a lot
which was awesome
in this episode.
That was so
the
cool.
stuff I love is
also
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
No,
Grant, I'm sorry. What did you say?
No.
Great podcasting here.
Oh, he reports that they were a force cult. I think he calls it the witches, which is very interesting.
I think the new stuff is the Indara stuff. I think she's fantastic, and I feel like that adds a lot. Like her perspective is sort of she's the voice of reason. That's like we really need to respect this culture for what it is and not interfere. And it's just really good that there was someone in the room that was saying that.
If she wasn't a Jedi, wouldn't you just be like, "Hey, dummies"? Like, I just wanted her to start a sentence like, "Hey, dummies."
Leave them alone, or we could just leave them alone. And I mean, virgins is a big deal, though.
Yeah,
I guess.
She says the tattoo that May receives is just part of ceremonial practice, and they shouldn't interfere. Right. Which I was like,
yes.
You know what? It kind of looks like they're singing a song, "The Power of One, the Power of Two." You weren't there, for like the pretty cheery song of like just embracing power. Which I was like, this is one powerful force cult on a planet. Somewhere in the, mid or outer rim. And it's like, why they're not going to ever confront the entirety of the Republic and like hurt anyone. It's confounding.
But they're all women, Grant. What if their ovaries make them all hysterical?
But there's 52 women and 2 children, which I was like, okay. The selling points on the sort of, for the causal, desire to go in there and take these kids is like all the selling points that are presented are kind of like I just didn't buy into any of them. And I didn't buy into the motivations of even scaling the wall twice and getting into this place. I was like, what is going on here with the Jedi? Like, first of all, you have 2 speeders and the ship can't just hover. Indara shows you that the ship actually can just hover and sort of like pronounce your arrival basically instead of
but
sneaking into a location.
Well, the the full thing was they were trying to not to look aggressive. They're trying to not look aggressive, and so but like breaking into a place is kind of aggressive.
They're like breaking in someone's back. They're like crawling in your back window and being like, I'm just here to hang out. Like, I just want to talk about these kids.
Yeah.
So I have two things. One, I just want to mention that during the scene where Soul is interviewing OSHA, that is like top-notch acting from Carrie-Anne Moss, because you see on her face while she's watching this happening, she has figured out the entirety of the rest of this episode. She's like, they're all gonna die. Like, you watch on her face like, this is going to end horribly.
Could you say she had a bad feeling?
And I just love that moment. Yeah.
Sorry.
And then the other thing I wanted to say is that, so this is the weird thing, is just like Soul's motivation of just like, I feel destined. I feel like I have to be Ocean's master. She's going to be my Padawan. Is it? I don't know how to throw us out there. Is it as simple as we talked already about this kind of scene at the very beginning where Indara gives, like, kind of makes fun of him about not having a Padawan yet.
Yeah. She throws shade at him.
And does that plant a little seed in his brain? Like, is this all this weird, like, men get hurt, and instead of identifying why they're hurt, right? Like, they do a dumb thing, they lash out, and like it's like he like internalizes that and just like, no, this is like my answer.
Torben wants those photon fizzlers in Coruscant really or whatever.
Yeah,
and he's
and instead of like talking about it, Ben just like,
I'm gonna get us out of here. I think, like, we talked about the meta stuff with Leslie. Like, I think she wants us to have this conversation right now.
Right.
Like, that's the sort of thing, like,
because it's great. It's actually all the characters are compelling, and the I would just say that the array of characters we get are so fun.
Yeah,
I think that's actually what I laud the most about this show, is sort of being bold and being like, here's like 5 Jedi to like hang out with, have fun.
Right.
That's why I'm pushing back against.
Is the moral of the story is that?
I'm sorry. Please go ahead, Adam.
Yeah.
No,
go for it. Go for it. Push back. No, push back against me. I was gonna make a quick joke.
This is gonna be quick.
Wasn't good.
I was gonna.
So go ahead.
Oh gosh, this is why I push back against you calling these guys the dregs, because I love this team already. I've already fallen in love with this team. I want.
So do I. No, I agree. That's mostly joking. I really like them. I like them all. I think they're good. My joke, my comment was gonna be, is the moral of the story is like, men would rather infiltrate a Night Sister. A Night Sister than go to therapy.
Yeah,
like, is that
were they getting pumped up to fight Night Sisters in this episode? Is that what happened?
Yeah, there was
they're like a
Night Sister drop, which is like, but no, not all Night Sisters just because they're women.
They're not all Night Sisters. We can't just like,
they're
not.
No, right? But Ben, I agree. I joke about the fact. I think it's just like a writerly thing of why they're there for so long. I think they're great. I love them all. I really do. Well, I liked all of them but one. But I don't think we're supposed to like Tobin very much.
I like Torben at the end. I mean, did they give Torben? Did they give us a suicide warning on that episode? I don't think they did. But yeah, I mean, Torben kills himself, but like his resolve, the bearish vow. I think that's very interesting.
Oh,
I think he has like this ending
because it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. No, but I mean, like earlier. No, that's the version of Torben I actually really like, is the bearish vow version of Torben.
So do I. Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like it's so funny because like he redeems himself in my eyes, because I'm like, I don't think what you did
is that bad
requires a bearish vow, but the fact that you like decide to take a bearish vow and then like just like drink the poison because you know this is what's going to put everything on the path to being right is like the most Jedi move ever, right? Like it's.
Can we talk about the effect of that sort of narrative reveal where it was like he ignites a saber just to deal with the threat that he thinks is posed, but he's a young kid, but it's really, and I think the show had kind of been pointing at this the entire time, which is that Soul may have done a darker deed during that event, right? Whereas like Soul may have been the one that actually did the worst thing.
Yeah,
I think Soul is what
in the show, if you watch it and
pops off.
Chimere is like, Soul, this is your master. Like, he probably sees this moment, maybe understands that this happened or something.
So since we're talking about how this connects to, I mean, Star Wars connects to real life, right? So like, I think about like the Boston Massacre or like other major events
truly
in history, where like it's literally, it takes, when you have the protesters or you have two sides kind of facing each other, it takes one person to pull the trigger that sets off everything. Yep. Right. Yeah. And so, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's this weird thing where I'm just like, it's hard to blame that one person. Right. Because everyone is at this, like at 11. Right. And so like, that's where I'm like weirdly like sympathetic to Soul in this moment where, again, I think he did wrong, but I don't blame him for what happened. If that makes sense.
Well, if someone turns into a smoke monster from Lost, like right in front of you,
which you've never seen before.
Let's talk about.
You have a presumption. You have a presumption of
evil. First, let's. I do want to talk about Mother Anastasia and like sort of like the more we get from Jodie Turner-Smith's character, which is like just like 10 out of 10. Yeah. Like Carrie-Anne Moss and so like, again, I think I just keep mentioning them too because I just outstanding performances. When she's like, "You're telling me the all-knowing Jedi are ignorant to their surroundings, like what's happening on this world?" Like, because he is acting a little dumbfounded and like, I just want to find out about these kids. Like, there's definitely, or I saw these kids in the woods, and it's just like, I just feel like the Jedi are not being upfront about the virgins. Like, they're not being upfront about their mission.
Yeah, I mean, well, he does finally ask, but he doesn't want to taint the well, poison the well by being like, "Is there virgins?" Like, then they could be like, "Yes."
I want to go back to like, and each Jedi is different, and I get it, and it's like, but at the same time, I was like, I feel like you could just be upfront about it, and things might go in a different direction.
Yeah.
Do you know what might have helped? Is, hey,
how did you create them?
We said something. Yes, we said something going on with these kids. Can we have some tea and sit down and have a conversation? Now, here's the thing. I usually, as both of you know, one of my least favorite tropes in TV is when or movies is when if people would just freaking talk about it. But that did not get triggered in this because it felt genuine to who these two groups are, right? But I feel like the Jedi move would have been Qui-Gon would have been let's sit down and talk,
break
right? Bread. Just have a conversation. There's no harm in that because the worst case is we leave where we came in, where we don't trust each other and don't believe each other. But maybe I can get this answer of where these kids come from. Oh, you created them. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Or anyway,
so how did you feel about, I think, the scene prior to all of this that happens at the very end? We keep kind of jumping to the end because it's just so climactic.
Right.
There's so much that happens right there. But we didn't really talk about the testing of May, and then May explaining the ascension ceremony to Indara and Soul, which I was like, this is that kind of what it's also trying to validate their approach. That scene where it's she's she says, keep saying "Mama said" about everything, and essentially everything, and it seems very Mother Anastasia centric, and maybe the kids don't get to explore other routes of knowledge and enrichment, and that was. What do you guys think about some of this parenting, leader, mentor stuff that's just happening in the episode? What is going on with the commentary in terms of how should you guide someone in life? And
well, this is a weird thing, right? Because I feel like they are a cult. I don't disagree with that terminology, right? That this coven is a cult. But I think what they're trying to determine is are they harmful?
Also,
cults?
The motion picture language, right? The low angle pushes, the dolly pushes to the witches is in their eyes, and they're swaying, and just the shots that you're getting, it's they're more sinister. I almost thought this would be I knew it would kind of depict them in a more sinister way, and I knew the other flashback would be the Jedi's POV, which is sort of what we're getting here, and then but they that's pretty scary stuff we do get, and Mother Anastasia is somehow stopping time and interacting with Torben when she possesses his mind. It's we see that whole scene again of him, of her possessing him.
Yeah,
I think to answer your question, Grant, about like the whole like parenting and like leadership, like we see both principals make the right decision. We see in Dara's like, we're going to leave them alone and they're going to do their thing. And then we see Mother Anasea be like, they're the chosen ones. She doesn't want to be here. She needs to go on this journey. I'm going to let her. Like they both individually make like the right decisions, like objectively, you know, they're like, nope, this is the right way to go. And then it goes, you know,
but the people underneath them make the wrong decisions, right? Because we have Sol making the wrong decision, and then we have, I can't think of her name, but the second, the other mother making the wrong decision, right? Like, so I like that storytelling of just like Cora.
And I mean,
I agree.
It's just like we have very virtuous things, and then we have very human things that happen. And I mean, if you wanted to title this thing like one thing, it's like we knew what this episode was going to be. Mistakes were made. Right, mistakes were made. there's no doubting. Mistakes were made. You know, like there was no tea ceremony. This wasn't. Yoda would have been like, where did you guys grow up? Have you seen the latest Red Sox game? Like he would have been hamming it up with them, talking about mundane things for the first hour.
Yeah,
and then got to what he was like doing. You know, and like after he built up a rapport.
Yeah. But what I love about it is mistakes were made, but I'm like, none of the mistakes were so like, I can't believe they did that, or like I never would have done. Like the mistakes felt natural to everyone's point of view,
that was
which I appreciated.
Leslie's amazing.
Remember we talked about that missing scene when Sol sort of catches Osha, and we were like, when in this you sort of see that he is holding both of them. Like we thought there was gonna be a moment dramatically where it was like he is kind of in charge of both destinies for a second.
Well, that's the name of the episode, right? And choice. I think that's the scene, right?
Choice.
That's the scene. He made a choice.
That's the scene. Actually a really beautiful scene. Like I thought that was just like a really smart scene that was just like a Jedi holding two people's fates in their hands, and
knowing he can't save them both. And having to choose, like it is the thing that breaks a Jedi.
And so, like, also going back on, you know, Sol and like your criticisms of it, it's like, yes, you can make this sort of like toxic masculinity argument for sure, but like, I really think what the intended purpose.
No, I wasn't. I was aggressive mentorship argument was what I was. That's what my argument was. It was like I aggressively need to mentor.
Right. Adam and I were running with the toxic masculinity theme, which is like definitely there.
But just as a possibility, I don't know if that's the reading of it. But what were you gonna say?
I think it's very Qui-Gon. The whole time I was just like, "Yep, Qui-Gon." It was that sort of urgency. Like I really do think. I don't think it's like he was miffed about that comment. I think it was coincidental.
No, he seems obsessed with the idea of a
it was coincidental. Like he's the guy that cares about the virgins, and he's like, nope, there's something special here with this virgins, and I need to.
He did feel like the virgins expert.
Yeah.
Yes, he seemed very focused on it. I will say too that when Dara says about not having a Padawan, they both laugh genuinely at the end of that scene. Like they seem like that's a running joke between them.
Virgins guy.
Like there's when she says that he laughs. It doesn't seem like he's taking that really to core. No, I agree. I think he's obsessed with virgins. I think it is very Qui-Gon, not untrained, but without as much experienced. Yeah, inexperienced.
But I mean, that's George Lucas.
Dara says a virgins is a concentration of force energy found in one place or in a place or something.
Yeah, and they think that's what brought it back to light. Was it a virgins or was it a true virgins? Because I know that word came up earlier, but I thought they just manifested the body with the dark side.
Okay, so if this show wants to tie the most epic bow on all that's transpired thus far, how cool would it be if, like, because they're artificially made, they basically Jedi state in this episode. They're artificially created. They one consciousness in two bodies. Like it's just all this crazy lore just like dropped on audiences.
Yeah. Wild. It's wild. Yeah,
absolute bombs. And then you have to think that gets into like the Plagueis Palpatine circle. You know what I mean? Like I just,
yeah.
just don't know how you don't. They're all about that. That group is all about that.
They're writing it. I mean, they're aware that this is a thing. Like touching on this and like not acknowledge.
I was really waiting for the word dyad
it's
to
huge.
Come out. I was just like, oh, they're gonna say it. They're
I
gonna
know,
say it,
right?
But yeah, it was kind of weird because they're like, it's artificial, but it like could only be created by emergence, like which seems to be a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Wait, what if chimeras recanonized Plagueis essentially? Like
I hope
that's
so.
the thing. Like they might think it's a naturally.
Why does it have to be a Mun? You know, why does it have to be that character?
It doesn't. But I want it to be a Mun.
It doesn't.
I want it as a hat tip to Lucino. That book is incredible.
Because it's like that's perfect timeline wise. It's like he is this character that then taught Palpatine.
You could do it
because the fight
maybe
so vicious.
It's early. So here's the thing. Like, I thought there was more discussion in episode. I wish I had time to go back and watch. I mean, instantaneous reaction. But episode 3, I thought they were kind of talking about like the creation of the twins, right? Like that story is still not fully told. And I'm wondering if that's where Chimere comes into play, is that he helped them create life.
Maybe it was his teachings or his like studying or whatever, but we haven't seen like a notebook or anything yet, or and
we just don't know what happened with Chimere. We know he's a Jedi. We know he, at one point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've had this conversation about like 3 other Sith, I think, over our past 450 episodes.
Right. I know. So this is all great. Can we talk about a Wookiee?
Yeah.
With a lightsaber.
Adam, take us through it. How did you feel, man? I was thinking about you the whole time.
It's all I've ever wanted to see, and boy, did they give me more than I ever expected. Like I just love the fact that they it wasn't just your normal lightsaber fight. Like I loved how vicious he was, and I loved the amount of brute force, both in the Force and physically. Like it was exactly what I ever thought I'd wanted to see with a Wookiee Wookiee Jedi fight. It was amazing.
I was surprised
so good
block at all. I was like, can he hold this block up at this point? This Wookiee is coming out at full force.
Yeah, that didn't last too long. Yeah. I the one note, it's like there's so many like prequel vibes in this series, and one of the things that is missing is the physical movements of like Force assisted movements, and
they're
right.
I
was
around.
Like, you look at Soul scrabbling up the rocks on the side of this thing, and you're like, okay, you can insinuate like he used the Force to get up there. But it wasn't. I expected him to sort of jump the first 20 feet and then keep sort of leaping up the side or something.
I expected Kelnaka to jump out of the Jedi drop.
Yeah, I wanted to see that. I think that's budget.
I was like, is he going to jump into camera right now? Like, is he going to descend onto camera?
How cool would it have been if you had Kelnaka's POV right after the line I wasn't talking about you or him. And then he just drops down on the scene at 100 miles an hour, and then you flip to Force landing, and then he's just jumps into motion. That would have been sick. But yeah, I think it's just not in the budget, to do that sort of stuff.
No.
It was very werewolf, at night when he kind of pops out.
It was,
and it's just
werewolf at night.
It brought him. I was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know. It was super fun. It was. I'm glad we got it. I mean, I've been hoping for it all season, and
cool.
they gave me what I want, and I'm satisfied.
Wait, Soul,
unarmed,
taking on a Wookiee Jedi and winning. Essentially?
Yeah, man's got move.
Or not even. I guess he loses pretty hard. He gets Force thrown into a.
No, but he's not. But he's using it for blocking. He's only using his lightsaber for defense, and then when he attacks, he's using it as a bludgeon, right? He's actually hitting.
He was hitting
the head with
it, forearm with the hammer.
It was a beautifully acted scene because Soul was so overwhelmed, and he was just ugh. He's like, how am I going to deal with this? He's stop.
Krav Maga with Indara and Soul at the end of the episode, where it's quick Krav Maga disagreement. I was like, what? I was like, being a Jedi is way tougher than I thought it was. It's I disagree with you. Jeez, what an unhealthy order. What a toxic environment. Oh my god.
Yeah. They're not everyone's Obi-Wan, man. Just saying.
Oh, it was
but poor Torben. That's a lot for your first experience.
Yeah, he's just like wanted to read a book. It's like I get it, dude. But you're a Jedi Knight. If you're gonna do this, you got to be in the whole way. All right. Well, yeah. So we're there at that fight, and then I was surprised. Pretty much the fire scene went as scripted, even though it seemed to be a little bit more of an accident than like a nefarious act. But
Indara kills all. All
right. So great question.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So
my reading,
it was the mind control move. So Indara is like puts an end to all that nonsense, right? She comes in, flips, pins Kelnaka, and uses the like force to try to force out the mind control on Kelnaka. But she's going against 50 witches of Bartok at the same time. Like they're fighting them, and that's the swaying thing, right? They're controlling Kelnaka with like this seance. And they all drop.
Yes.
Are they dead or are they just knocked out?
Let's talk about that scene for a second.
Yeah.
Indara, I think, worms into all of their minds and kills all of them.
Well, she pushed them out of his mind, but like, did she kill them?
Yes.
Or did they?
I don't think she.
I don't think so either.
I think she pushed them out.
I think they're dead. I think they're all dead. I think that's the other thing. I think that's part of what's implied here. I don't think she did it willingly. I think she was trying to break the tie, and by breaking the tie, they die.
Because Kelnaka and
I think that's part of why.
It was just Mother Coral take over. It's got to be a whole union.
She would leave this thing going, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. Why would she then sequester herself on an out world unless she has on her conscience the death of like 40 people, not necessarily intentional, but like during that fight, I think that's what happened.
So dark and so compelling.
Yeah, I think that's what we're meant to believe, but like my own mind is like, I don't know, but like
it's just Star Wars, it's Disney Star Wars at the end of the day. You're like, they probably just all like fainted
and then burned alive.
They all died somehow,
or maybe they escaped. But
we saw them.
Oh
dead.
yeah, we saw all the bodies.
We saw them dead in episode 3. They're dead. They're dead.
There's no like.
They're all
don't have really
dead.
Any spatial awareness of where they are though.
Yeah.
No, I'd have to rewatch.
I'd have to rewatch it too because they were clearly all like on a dais, like chanting together, and like, then they looked kind of scattered in episode 3 around. But those could be different witches, like I don't know. But yeah, I think we're led to believe that she killed everyone, which is like not great, but like she was, because she's like, I didn't want to mess with these poor people in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it's unintentional. I don't think that was her plan. I think she was just trying to break the connection, and she doesn't know what this dark magic is, and she didn't know that by breaking the connection they would die. But still, that would be a Jedi. That would be on a Jedi's conscience, right? To be enough to be like, I'm going to go out here to the old west.
Exactly. I'll be in the saloon if you need me.
I don't want to say I called that Kelnaka was going to get mind controlled.
You did.
But
I literally
did. The episode I saw him scribbling all the dyadic sort of symbols. Mm-hmm. I was like,
you 100% called it.
Yeah. Yep. No, that was spot on. And I wish I could see. Well, we'll see in the comic soon. Kelnaka doing things in service of the light, which will.
That's true.
But the live action Wookiee Force wielder, it's special. It's very special.
It is. Yeah, I'm very happy. But
yeah, that was special. I'm probably gonna rewatch that scene like hundreds of times. Torben also blocking the arrows, the slow-mo shot.
Yeah.
Kelnaka jumping through the air, just a lot of that blocking. Soul and his sort of unarmed combat, his just that was very cool against Kelnaka. Just really cool blocking for Wookiee fight, and just more Wookiee. Like we got Chrysantan, we got Kelnaka. Like I almost would love a Wookiee in the next trilogy. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be a Chewbacca per se. It could just be a different.
You got to think we'll see Chewbacca.
It will be Chewbacca.
Yeah, New Jedi Order. Movie.
Well, because we could do, because I really think Chewbacca should gray at some point.
Yeah.
Like, it would be so cool.
What if we see him dropping off his son to Jedi school? What if his son is
because he's like Jedi, he's like Force sensitive?
CG could be so cool.
Yeah.
Laugh.
But and this is nice too because
Junus can be someone else.
I was gonna say, like, this thing was nice because Junus was like really hyping the fact that it was Kelnaka on all the social medias, and I'm like, oh, yeah, but he didn't really get to do anything. And then this episode dropped. We're like, oh, okay. It's very similar to the guy who's playing Chimera. It's just like, no, he got to do a lot. It's just all in flashbacks, but I'm glad he was able to do some stuff. They did more with this than they did with Chewie, right? Like he actually got some like action scenes, which is good for him.
Yeah, right. Like he was like, oh, I get to swing a lightsaber, and like that must have been really cool for him.
Super cool.
I also love Indara like jumping and landing on his neck.
Yeah, it's
and
so
just
cool.
like putting her hands over his face and sort of blocking them out, and I guess killing all the witches. That was actually like a really cool, like kind of Dune-esque moment. Like that just felt super dark and ominous.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
How do we feel about like the phantasmal wraiths that the witches can turn into, and sort of the smoke form that they can take?
Cool.
Shadow.
So cool. So precedented, right? The Dathomir's, the witch's Dathomir has the same magic. We used it in Jedi Survivor. We remember with that cutscene where we sort of go through, like they can kind of teleport, but really,
oh my god, that cutscene breaks all of Force powers. I mean, I love that scene, but like,
oh, you mean the Jedi Survivor?
Yeah, when she's like jumping from like they're like teleporting from like beast to beast to beast to beast, and I'm like, why Jedi? Wait, like it broke the original trilogy before we watched it. I was like, wow, Luke sucks. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, Luke can't.
I mean, it's dark side magic, probably. So they're doing it. So it's precedented.
I guess more specifically, when Mother Anastasia turns into her sort of like shadow form, May also sort of takes on the smoke form.
Yes, I clocked it and then forgot about it. Yeah.
I think that what we were supposed to...
What was the point of seeing...
I think she was trying to teleport them both at the same time, and that's why it took her so long.
It was teleportation.
Yeah. She was...
Right, because Mother Coral feels like she's moved in the room when she transforms, right? She's closer to the stairs, maybe, or behind the stairs, almost. Like
I felt like it was like the Survivor thing. So you remember when you get pulled through that like teleportation jump? Yeah. You kind of zoom through like hyperspace in real space. You're in like a parallel.
Just you describing that right now.
I know, but you're in like a parallel dimension.
Special
yeah, you're like in a parallel dimension, zipping around as like a molecule. But you can still talk and they can still hear you. That's what I got with Mother Coral. And I think that's how it works. I can only assume from playing Survivor.
That makes so sense. Cool. Yeah. Really don't get a lot of evidence that that's the way it works.
I mean, if you've played Survivor, you're like, oh yeah. That like
right, Survivor.
That's kind of. I think that's how it works. But for some reason, Mother Talisa like didn't get out of there in time to not get stabbed.
I guess because it was all bullet time, right? Not to make a Matrix thing, right? Where because you had the Jedi moving at a faster speed too, Soul's probably moving at a faster speed. Yeah. Seeing it, not realizing what it is, thinking it's, and it is dark side magic. It is dark side, right? So he probably feels the dark side, does what he's trying to do, lashes out. It blows my mind that you're right. This is like Jedi Survivor. It is from Jedi Survivor, and like this is a major plot point of a Disney Plus series. Like, so my question is like, did Leslie Headland play Jedi Survivor? I mean, let me rephrase this. After Leslie Headland played Jedi Survivor,
right? Which is like this. I've got a great idea
that she's played it. Yeah. Did she pull it in, or was it like Disney Story Group was just like, by the way, you wrote this doing this. Why don't you just make her teleport like in Jedi? It's just one of those fascinating things. It's like it's wild to bring in a thing from a video game.
Jedi Survivor has some of the coolest lore ever too, with the Jedi stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would cut off my pinky to be in the room when they make those decisions. Like, I just think that's so cool how they get to do it. So I've had this thought in my head this whole podcast, and I'm just going to say it now. So to get it out of my head because I want to say it. This is the time. You know what's awesome about Kathleen Kennedy and the whole Lucasfilm Story Group is that like they bring in creators, and they're just like, you know what Star Wars is, make a Star Wars.
Yeah.
And make it in your own image. Like, if this was Marvel, nope, you have to follow these guidelines. It has to look like this. This is the sort of way things go. This is how we're going to develop characters. Like, every series is so wildly different from the one before it. And I think that is just the coolest thing about Star Wars.
It actually feels closer, weirdly, to Marvel Comics comics as opposed to Marvel Comics, like the movies, because like I a lot of like people I like, a lot of actually like comedy writers like Scott Aukerman and Paul Scheer and other people actually have written for Marvel Comics, and the way they explain it is just like I bring my own thing in, and then they just tell me, like I will write to them and be like, okay, I'm trying to do this and this. Do you have a list of characters I can use? And then they'll be like, okay, cool. Here's like 15 people that you could possibly use. Here's the backstory. Here's the thing you can do. And I feel like that's what Kathleen Kennedy's doing.
Yeah.
And Dave Filoni of just like, no, exactly. Like you tell your story, we will keep you on the rails of what is Star Wars. We can help you.
Right.
And then also certain things are out of like, no, you can't do Yoda.
Right.
But you can do all this other stuff.
Story group, and they decide sort of we want to keep certain IPs sacred, and then they have like Filoni, who's like he's more the like metaphysical guru of like Star Wars, where it's sort of like that wouldn't happen that way according to George.
Yeah.
Like that's not really like he governs like the physics of the galaxy.
It's the Lucas whisperer.
Yeah. And it's sort of the overarching sort of theme, rails. But it's like other than that, like Leslie's made this amazing show that is so wildly different than everything we've seen. It's got its own look. It's got its own like score. It's, the storylines are like, it just like bouncing between EU material, source material and stuff.
I'm hoping we get more output from Leslie Headland than Dave Filoni in the future, and Dave Filoni sort of steps back at this point, because it's like he is the guru, but I feel like Leslie Headland knows Star Wars. Like I don't think she needs like a lot of guidance or guardrails.
No,
I think especially once you've explored territory of both, showing the wider audience sort of Sith culture and Sith belief systems and Sith philosophy, and then also in that same series interrogating the Jedi in like an incredibly deep and interesting way, and sort of as peacekeepers or sort of police of the galaxy. Like that's an attachment, and sort of really driving into the attachment sort of theme that we all were like, isn't that kind of what George left hanging? Like, was this theme essentially like what's going on here with attachment and the Jedi? And this show sort of aims to get at all of that. And if this show is able to incorporate some other things, I'm thinking it might do, this show might just be the greatest sort of like web of sort of interaction with the Star Wars galaxy and sort of the broad
and like pulling it all in
has ever happened.
It's a great metaphor.
And sort of like once you establish that, it's either it has to be just like an absolute masterpiece like Andor with a sort of like literary perfection like Andor, or and this is also great. I'm just saying, it's more of a visual feast,
different sort of type of masterpiece,
a dramatic narrative, a twisting kind of feat.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I don't know. I just feel like
I almost feel like we are getting a promise fulfilled on Disney Plus that we didn't get with the movies. And here's my thought: it's like when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, it was kind of this idea of just like, we have this, we're going to do the Skywalker saga, right? We're going to finish it off 7, 8, 9. And then in between those, we're going to get these other standalone films that are kind of their own thing, told by specific storytellers that are going to have their own kind of feeling, right? And so it's just like, here's your like main arc narrative, big picture thing. And then there's these smaller films that are going to be, we're allowed them to do their weird things. We're getting that with Disney Plus. Like we have the Filoniverse, right? We have a Mandoverse, which is very like all of those shows.
Favreverse.
The Favreverse, the Mandoverse.
Really, it's kind of the Favreverse, and
the Favreverse. The Filoniverse, but they look very the same, right? And they are telling one overarching story, which I like, which is great. And now we're starting to get this like, no, we're gonna have Andor over here and Obi-Wan over here, and we're gonna have the Acolyte over here, which are like, they look different, they have different, they seem focused on the creator.
Yeah.
Right? Like Andor's a Gilroy joint through and through and through. And this is a Leslie Headland joint through and through and through. Obi-Wan's this weird, like halfway between both things.
Yeah,
but
but Deborah Chow's fingerprints are on
feels
it.
more Deborah Chow than whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I just love it. Also give, Why can't I remember her name? It just fell out of my brain. Never mind.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yes, give Bryce Dallas Howard a series, right? Like,
and Famuyiwa,
yeah.
like those. There's a lot of other creators there. I'd love to see go crazy, but
Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like it's just really encouraging that now it's like bang, bang, bang. We have these really brand new creations. It makes me really excited about Skeleton Crew. Like and you know we've talked about like the new like Mando and Grogu movie. That's great. It's a feature, but I've really just enjoyed these live action series so much more than the films even that have come out. Part of it's just the quantity. I'm a quantity guy when it comes to Star Wars. Like, just give me more. But like
more Star Wars, please.
Yeah, but I mean, you can do a lot of cool things in this long form storytelling, and I really enjoy. I like digesting my media 9 hours at a time. Like, that's just the kind of guy I am. Like, I don't care. Like, I know it's long.
The greatest long form story I think of all time. We all love Star Wars on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, they're all like trilogies of their own.
When we start to sort of break down these shows, we're just simply trying to see what you can do, the possibilities. I think we're really trying to look at the possibilities and what you can do essentially, and sort of how you can stretch the fabric of what we know about the Jedi and the Sith, and
it's true.
Dive into different eras and sort of explore new territory,
Yeah.
unknown territory. I think as fans, we want to see the unknown territory.
100%.
Except for certain places. Like, you don't want to know where Yoda comes from.
No.
There's certain things we don't need.
Certain mysteries should remain.
You don't need to know Han's name or, you know.
Yeah. The Force will always
I will
remain
say,
a mystery.
Yeah, Ben, I just want to temper expectations, not to bum you out, but don't forget, Skeleton Crew is part of the Favreverse. So we'll see.
So did he
different.
Did he write it?
I don't know that he wrote it, but it's very similar to like Boba Fett.
I think
he didn't write
Daniels directed an episode, so I'm very excited.
There's a lot of they got some interesting
because Favre wrote Boba Fett, so like that was.
Did he write? Okay,
yeah, he wrote all of that, and I don't know who wrote Skeleton Crew at all. I don't remember ever seeing it.
Skeleton Crew's genius on paper, though, because it's
all I know is they're aping Spielberg, and like that's it.
Yeah,
well, it's Amblin, right?
It's Amblin, right?
They should get Spielberg to write it.
All I know is
like, I mean, it's also just like a lot of, you know, Weequay and sort of like, gosh, what are the other ones? What are the other sort of
like
Rhodians? It's going to be like all the Pirate Nation, a lot of, you know, human pirates.
What are the other
as
ones
well.
that look like dogs?
Platunians.
Platunians. Yeah, they're Platunians. It's Brock Niktos. There's Niktos. There's Platunians. Yeah, it's all from the day the Earth stood still. But I was gonna say, it's so weird. All I know is I think we might get toys from Skeleton Crew before we get a frickin' trailer. Like, they've already, like, the toys are announced. You can see the names of the characters. Have already been like.
Quick aside, do we have a release date for Skeleton Crew or Andor season 2? No, but we think Andor season 2 is around Christmas or New Year 25.
I think because we have Agatha. So Agatha, which is like the Marvel MCU thing, starts in September.
Okay.
So that'll bring you through September through October. So yeah, there's a gap in December, which tends to be Disney, or tends to be Star Wars.
Yeah, they're probably hoping to do Andor season
I'm guessing,
2.
Yeah.
And then Skeleton Crew 25.
I think Skeleton Crew first.
Yeah.
I think Skeleton Crew first, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I think they want to save Andor for summer, because that's their big numbers, is the summer one. I think they shifted. I think originally the plan was probably Skeleton Crew now. And then this, but I think that they were like so in love
with Acolyte
that they want to put in the big numbers.
Wait, so Acolyte could get a season 2, right? Like, I'm hoping.
No matter what, I think you could do it. Like, I even if they kill off Chimera, I feel like.
Well, don't you want to see more like just Chimera and Osha? I guess if Osha kind of takes May's place as sort of the Acolyte, and like that Sith rabbit hole,
sad,
like the Sith rabbit hole show. That could be
it's all I want.
Show.
I'm so sad we may only get one more episode of Chimera.
Yeah.
Like, do not kill him.
I think he's done. I think Chimera's going to be, he'll be killed. I think it might be Osha that actually does it. It's going to be tragic. Like whatever happens, I think it's going to happen. But and my this is my own headcanon. I think Leslie should get another season, but I think it should be like it should move on to another thing. So like if I get my dream of this sort of bigger fish theory, and Tenebris and Plagueis come swoop in and kill them or like get involved somehow, then we follow them, and it's like it's this Sith story that keeps going. Maybe with new Sith each season. I don't know.
I love it. Do it. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that. But I mean,
love the Sith.
Because I like this is great. It's just like if I get a cliffhanger at the end of next week, I'm gonna be so sad.
No, I agree with you. I want this wrapped up with the possibility of like you can tell more stories with the characters that remain, right? Or new characters. But yes, I think we're all agreed. No matter what, give Leslie Headland something. Yeah. If it's not a season 2 of Acolyte, give her. Yeah, all of the things.
Well, why not just the Sith, just the origins, sort of not the origins of the Sith per se, but like the Sith Jedi Wars, even like that whole thing. Because it's like I know the other film is, exploring that.
Yeah,
but there's the Jedi Sith Wars.
It's a whole area.
Mangled is sort of doing
the origin.
Dawn of the Jedi sort of film.
The Jedi Sith War.
The Prime Jedi. I think they're calling it the Prime.
Yes,
Jedi.
it is changed. Called. The Prime Jedi. Right, which is interesting.
Optimus Prime.
So that's I guess being worked on, but no one's doing the Jedi Sith Wars and sort of what happened there a millennia ago. The Academy.
We almost got it with the Game of Thrones guys, right? Like that was like the thing they were supposed to do. Thank you.
I think they were like talking about 5,000 or 10,000 years back. Though
no, you're right.
I was thinking just a millennium.
Yeah, I love that time period. There's so much time period to explore. There's no way it's going to call the Prime Jedi, right? You cannot call it that. That does not like
the Optimus Prime Jedi. That's the name.
Or the Amazon Prime Jedi. Like
the Amazon Prime Jedi.
Like you can't. There's no way. I will bet $1,000 right now if anyone wants to take it that is not going to be the name of that movie.
Yeah, it can't be.
Yeah.
Oof.
Also, listeners, please don't call me on that bluff because I don't have $1,000 to give anyone.
Wait, no, I don't have that money. Are we at the end of this episode now?
I think we're there.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is all in service. We're gonna next week. We're gonna then be right on Soul. He's gonna be like over chained up May and being like, "That's what happened."
Wait, did you want to harp on that more? Like Soul chaining up May and then Chimera giving...
I mean, it's not a good look.
OSHA free range in the
It's not a good look. I need to tell you something, so I'm going to strap you to this table and talk right at your face as you're terrified. Like, that's not like the way...
But that's fine though, right? He's a Jedi.
He's
I don't know.
Duress.
It's weird. But it's literally how people deprogram.
Wait, so I want to know if you defend Soul or you think actually that's just deplorable, like to do.
I'm in between, man. It's nuance, right? Like it's not the greatest. It's not a great look.
That's what the show is trying to do, right? It's trying to put you.
And it's all nuance, which I love about the show.
Yeah. It's not a great look, but like that's where they are right now. And he's like, I know who you are. I know what you represent. I don't have time to fight you right now. Like,
there's a power to that, but it's also it does get frustrating sometimes in this episode. That's all I'll say. There is a power.
It's not a great look. I mean, my worst look of the thing was him killing that apparition. It was like, why are you so quick on the trigger? Obi-Wan would have gone into a defensive stance. He wouldn't have just started stabbing like air and stabbing people. Like that's a very police thing. United States police thing to do is shoot first and sort of figure out what happened later.
But what's so odd about that analogy is maybe everyone should have died there, because that's just like, what are you vindicating in this situation?
Right.
Or like the Indara cover up and Soul going on to at least keep this little girl. So a little girl's dreams survive in this episode. Right. Yeah, another plummets into fire. This is the ultimate sort of utilitarian value, I guess, that's set before you. I guess, but it's not like the witches all die. So like the toll of life is just crazy in this episode.
Incomprehensible. And that was, I thought, an interesting through line of this episode was that like he wanted them both. And it's like, you had Indara being like I mean, we can't break them up, but it's like only one wanted to go with you. The other one wanted no part of you. Like, why would you want to take her? If
Sol and Torben were more passive, would Osha have just been, allowed to go with them back to Coruscant?
Yes.
I believe so.
Absolutely.
I believe the Coven would have brought Osha to them and been like, you can go. And that is literally the fate I see in my Force.
Right.
Of
but
like, what
Indara was like very adamant that like the council said we're not breaking them up. And so I think like if cooler heads prevailed, I think the girls go back with the Coven because Indara would have been like, nope, the council says they stay. They stay together and we're not breaking them up. And she would have like overrid Sol at that time. That's my headcanon on that situation.
I agree. Is there, not to make the other side of the argument, but we only see Indara reporting back what the council said. We don't actually see the conversation between Indara and the council. And then at the end of this episode, she is the one that says, do not talk to the council about this. Don't tell them. So is there another possibility that she just straight up lied and never talked to the council about it?
Why?
Just saying.
This is an awesome theory.
I don't like it because I like her, but...
Oh, this is a great theory.
Because she also talks Sol into not telling the council about what actually happened.
Yeah, I just watched Beverly Hills Cop 1 last night, and it's
well done. It's perfect movie.
It is a perfect movie, and like one of the through lines is how to effectively lie to your superiors.
Yep.
And there was a moment like the head of the Hollywood police force sort of was like takes the stand at first, but then in the end he learns how to lie to sort of do the things. And I feel like that's what happened here with Indara was like, she was like, no, we're going to follow the rules. And then she's like, it's time to lie.
Yeah. I like that. I like that better.
I like that.
It took
I don't want what I'm saying to be true, but it's always telling when you don't show a scene and you just have a character like recount what happened.
Yeah. It's a lot of loose threads, but yes.
Oh man, there's ways to tie it. So in episode 3, the initial flashback episode, do we see Mother Coral's body? On the ground.
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like how did they all die?
So if Indara did contact the council, did she mainly get through to Venestra Row? And in doing so, Venestra Row arrives with a younger Chimere as her Padawan, and Coral's still there, possesses Chimere, and then you can get the set piece Venestra Row Chimere duel that you've always wanted, essentially, which is like just incredible flips, acrobatics. Venestra Row gets to go full 10 out of 10, Or
we're getting that
in real time.
We're definitely getting.
Fight Chimera Kofar, and Chimera has been using some sort of mind trick on Osha, who's still on the ground or something, and it's like we're on that jungle planet again.
I love that, Grant. That sticks with your like it happened recently theory. And it's like the long time ago.
You said a long time ago. 16 years feels long.
It's a long time ago.
Can feel long.
A very long time ago. Or Indira is actually the Sith Master, and the whole thing's been her mastermind since the beginning.
Well, you're just getting wild now. You're just getting crazy now.
I was getting wild because what are we doing? Like, we saw her die.
Also, Chimera says Jedi can get in your head and stay there, and
we know
and
that
seeing Indara go in the witches,
go
into
does a very Kylo move, getting in her head.
Yeah, I mean.
Wait, so did he get possessed at some point? Does he have experience like with this? Did someone do this to him? Is that why he's so vigilant and using this helmet?
And probably, also, I mean, it seems like just like a basic Jedi defense weapon. It's like,
and Mother Coral's body's not there, and she just did this to Kelnaka.
I'm gonna laugh so hard next week if it turns out Indara is like the mastermind behind this whole thing, because I do not believe it. Like, I just threw it out here and I was ready to be like, I deserve no credit.
There's a lot of room for mind control. Like, even like whenever a character falls into like the spores on the planet of Kofor, I'm like, is this all gonna just be a fever dream? like like a hallucinogenic.
It's just Jacob's ladder.
Yeah,
it's like they're all. It's just it's their last vision before dying.
Right. This is the Jacob's ladder Star Wars donation.
Oh, that's the worst. I hate that. That is literally the thing I hate the most. If they do that, I am never watching another Star Wars ever.
Yeah.
So you don't like the idea that Chimere's Island is just in both May and Osha's heads? Like,
I mean, I don't know.
Just like, because we saw Torben get taken over.
That would be wild. That would be wild. I love that.
False environment.
That'd be so crazy.
Yeah, I don't mind that as long as as long as it's not doing things like nothing happened, nothing that you actually saw
happen. Yeah,
don't do that. But I don't mind in
because then you get Chimere v. Vernestra if she's still there investigating.
Yeah.
Also, Chimere said he has to take out all the Jedi. He has to kill all the Jedi.
Yeah, well, we know he's not going to succeed.
I know about this.
Yeah, right, but he didn't do it, and he seemed to express regret that he didn't kill Sol. He was like, "Yeah, I'm kind of effed because of that."
And that was like the most explicit meta moment of the show, where he's just like, "I'm a Sith and I can't exist, so I have to kill all the Jedi." Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, we know that as fans.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it is, but it's like, it's also like, I feel like that's indicative of the kind of like teaching that and the twisting that Chimere does. He's like, he's like, oh no, I'm the Force for good. He's like, oh, well, you made these rules that I can't exist, so I have to kill you all. Sorry. And it's like, it's like you can exist and you can use the Force, you just can't slaughter people.
Right, yeah. Like, this is not our fault. Like, the line of, like, you brought her here, which is, like, my favorite. It might be my favorite Sith line of all time.
Right.
But it is like a little like, but no. Like, that still doesn't mean you get to kill her.
Yeah, it's like.
but it's like a great Sith line.
Yeah, and Sol's like, why did you choose now to reveal yourself? He's like, I wore a helmet.
You brought her here, and the Indara line of you have to admit the Jedi are like allowed to test children, with your permission, of course, are like just the most erroneous statements.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I still don't get that.
Is this Indara actual thought pattern?
Yeah, I can't find like our world sort of parallel to that, but it is sort of like, well, we're totally justified to do this, but I mean, you can deny if you want, but it's like, I mean, they are Jedi with lightsabers that could probably kill all of them in head-to-head combat easily. So that's sort of like, of course, whatever you want. They don't want to go against the Jedi that really do have the power leverage. Do they? I don't know. Those witches seem to have plenty of power of their own. But.
Yeah, I guess you could read it as like, yes, the Jedi are allowed to test, but that is the extent of what they're able to do, right? Because like the other side of that is like they don't take children against the wills and wishes of those, right? Like we have to believe that, right? Like the parents or the guardians have to agree to it at the time. So I guess it is like, yeah, you can test them, but that's the extent of your like rights as a Jedi. It's like you can test them, but we still have the last say whether you get to take them or not. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
And there's a cover up that just happens at the end of the episode, just casual sort of. They all died.
Yeah,
in a fire. May started.
So just a reminder: Indira kills the most, and is the one backing a cover up by the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. And she seemed to be doing pretty well.
Wait, you're saying Indara killed the most?
Yeah. She killed like 30 of them.
Yeah, because they're all collapsed in episode.
They're dead. They are dead.
Brain dead. Yeah.
They're dead.
But did she have it? But that was the choice. That was the episode title, the choice, essentially.
There's like a million choices.
That was like, I mean, I guess it's hitting on.
I think it's Sol. I think it's. My guess is it's Sol, right? Choice between the two of them. But there's also the kids' choice whether to go with the Jedi or not. There's Mother and Seiya's choice whether or not to let them go. Like that's again, masterful naming in these episodes. Like it's great. Like just like last episode we talked about like teaching corruption, right? Yeah, great titles.
Yeah, great thematic resonance with the titles.
Next episode, Destiny, right?
I like that call.
Choice Destiny, choice. What do we think? What's the dyad name for next week? Choice, no choice, choice, fate. I guess there's maybe the Fate card.
What hasn't been taken already?
Yeah, fate. I like too.
fate, destiny.
Yeah. I think we're gonna be like then Flash to Soul and May, and that episode will be what. But it doesn't really make sense. Why would? Because May saw everything, right? May saw pretty much everything that happened in this episode.
Yeah, May is the only one that has the entire truth,
right?
That or of the two, yeah, she saw all of it.
I wonder if it'll be called the Dream, honestly.
Oh, the Dream, I like that
because destroy the dream.
Yeah,
was uttered pretty early.
I wonder if what
are good ideals? I mean, there's choices you make in life with consequences that lead to bad outcomes, and fallibilities are exposed. But it's like, what is the idyllic, what is the noble sort of stance that the Jedi take? Like, what is that? Like, who represents that? Like, where's
accountability,
Yoda and Mace, and sort of that noble stance? And I'm hoping Vernestra totally jumps out as like the most noble Jedi in this final episode, where she's a knight, like a knight errant sort of character.
Yeah.
Well, she has to, right? Because every other Jedi we've met is flawed. Like, I love Soul. I love that character. But you put this flaw on him. You need this. You need just a pure white, not white, but like a pure light side character. And that's Vernestra, right? At this point.
I don't know. I think Vernestra's going to kill her Padawan. I think she's going to be like, no, honestly, like, this guy's wrong. He's been corrupting. He's been doing terrible things. And she's going to.
But I think she can do that and still be pure light side.
Right, but it's going to take a certain decisiveness. That's sort of what Grant was talking about, like becoming a little bit of the Sith to defeat the Sith.
No, but she is
to take a life.
Yeah,
but like in Dara, she's extremely cunning and sort of intuitive, which is like
empathetic.
Just her charisma checks, and like her dialogue checks in any sort of role playing game are just like just perfect crits. Like she's just crushes like dialogue. I feel like so. Like I'm hoping
all
that
nat 20s.
So this is what I thirst for in Star Wars. Honestly, is these philosophical sort of like bouts between sage characters. Vernestra v. Chimere in any sort of a conversation setting or dialogue exchange.
That's all
Are
I
you
want.
kidding me?
Let's give us 40 minutes of that next episode.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Those 2 point of views are so potent and so interesting, and so they're just I don't know. Just
we haven't gotten that side of it. Like Chimere has been masterfully written. Like we've got the Chimere perspective. It's so well written, and you're right. Like to have the other side of that. Like we've had. Like I really liked the Soul and Andara back and forth in this episode, but it's not like clear. It's not clear like this person has the understanding of what a Jedi Master does. Right? They both seem to be kind of working with their own perspectives. So like you're right to have like a Sith character's point of view and a pure Master's point of view, like just fighting each other verbally is all I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
It also could end as quick as Darth Maul and Obi-Wan. I would love a huge lightsaber fight, but it's like that whip comes out.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a one-shot deal. That's
as High Republic fans, we haven't seen in this really the ethos of Vernestra. So, but as High Republic fans, we know Chimere doesn't stand a chance, like in a physical fight, and B, but like we kind of know where Vernestra's coming from. It would be
maybe that explains Chimere's sort of like you have to kill a Jedi unarmed, with no weapon. Like it's the only way to, you can destroy the dream or whatever, and it's like. Is he saying that and trying to teach that to his acolyte because he's like, my master can kill me in one shot? Like,
I cannot beat her.
So powerful that she can basically just one shot me
at
any point of my life. And I basically have to figure out other ways and other means in which to confront her, which I actually project onto you that you need to kill Jedi, but I'm projecting that I need to kill my master, who I guess I did confront at one point. She did attack me, but maybe I was nefarious one.
I mean, maybe that's his long-term plan. Is he doesn't care about killing these Jedi. He's just trying to unsettle, or maybe this is the whole thing too. Wait, is this his master plan just to get her off of Coruscant because she doesn't leave Coruscant?
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh,
so he's done this whole thing just to get Vernestra off Coruscant.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's a world where Chimere kills Vernestra.
It's true. Like we don't know the fate of either of these characters.
Maybe he does do that.
Yeah.
How juicy is that too? Like I knew I would have to do something like this to lure you, or I don't know.
Yeah. And that thing of like I killed all of these people just for you, just because of you. Yeah. Right. Like.
Yeah, it could be that, and I mean, he could do it by doing it unarmed, or something. It's like, oh, let's not use our weapons because he knows like her weapon is so OP, but that it would level the playing field. But yeah, I mean that could exist too, and I mean this could be the end of Ernesto Rowe, which is
also the trope of this sort of madness that happened in with Kelnaka on Kofar, where he sort of started drawing all the patterns on the walls and sort of and whatever happened to him just it took a toll on his mind, I guess. He's sort of just trapped in that setting and analyzing that dyad and that vergence. It makes me wonder if Chimere was the apprentice this 16 years ago and they visit Kofar or something like if that is indeed kind of, or not Kofar, sorry, Brentdock. And Coral does take control, and then Vernestra has to get in there and do something in the mindscape. It's like that could build that up, but that could be part of that, or it could be a completely separate sort of event wherein Vernestra and him something happened.
It's interesting, like the two Jedi characters who get mind controlled, one ends up taking the Bear's Vow and not interacting with others, and the other one completely disconnects, right? Because at least like Indara is like still doing Jedi stuff. She's just like out in the reaches, and Sol is still like completely a Jedi. But the other two who are mind control are like, nope, I'm completely dropping out of society. Yeah.
I get like sort of shell-shocked vet from Kelnaka,
right?
Like that guy that just like still has like a a bunker and lives in a tent in the woods and is just like,
I stayed at that guy's Airbnb when I was out in Washington State. Exactly. I mean, like I stayed there.
Like Kelnaka's hideout.
Yeah.
So cool.
I mean, I've written a horror movie surrounding my weekend with that guy.
So Adam, when you said that you feel like there's going to be a presence around the tree when May goes to the tree.
Yeah. I think it's Chimere. I think it's Chimere. I gotta go like Octum's razor, right? Like I think it's just.
Isn't it sort of obvious that it's Chimere though?
Right. Like, well, I mean, but the show will do sometimes the obvious thing, like this episode. But I don't mean that necessarily as bad thing. Like this episode taught me, like, no, not everything is something, right? Like I remember we talked about, like, it's so weird that May started the fire and that fire was the thing that burnt it down. We're missing something. No, we're not. Like May started the fire and that blew everything up. Like that's all that happened, right? Like it's in May's perspective. So it's just, I wouldn't put it past the show to be like, this is Chimere. That's my guess. Do you have thoughts? I mean,
what are you talking about? The tree? I thought that was a flashback.
So that's flashback at the end of episode 3. We see May post whatever happens, kind of coming to by the tree, and there's like Chimere, this weird, there's a weird presence. Like it's not stated, but it just feels like there's something else there, with her. And that's got to be Chimere, is my guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my
wild.
Guess.
I guess.
What if it's Vernestra Rowe?
Could be. Yeah.
Just force whipping kids.
I'm only saying that because
bendy sabering kids.
I just do wonder if it's like, I don't know, you like a character. Like I think a lot of people when they first saw The Force Awakens, they were like, "How did Rey get to Jakku?" You know what I mean? Like, was she dumped there by someone? Like this was a lot of the fan theories that were going around, and. So interesting if Vernestra Rowe does recover one of the twins and she's like, you know what? I have to just dump this kid. I have to abandon this kid somewhere because it's like too powerful and I'm powerful and Chimere was growing in great power and I had to quell that or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that. And it's like great power actually does take great responsibility and I can barely handle it. And it's like the inverse of Darth Bane basically, which is just like, or I guess there's the real parallel there where it's like no one should really have this power. This is like the power I wield is like on another level essentially. And I don't think anyone should have this. That's why Yoda is just so profound in terms of like just lifting things and in mid fight he will just stop save people's lives, and you force repel things, and sort of just a lot of force repel, and it's like that's sort of all you can do eventually if you become so powerful. It's just force repel things, and I wonder after the days of fighting the Nile if the Jedi are that passive or have gained that insight to be that passive.
It could go go either way.
Ready, they're trigger happy,
right?
They're igniting their sabers over nothing.
Yeah, it could go either way. They could be like super passive, or they could be super aggressive. Because like
we can't ever let
everything I've read has been like they haven't been aggressive enough. It's like no, when you have the opportunity to cut down one of these like leaders, you need to do it.
Yeah,
and they're not doing it.
Nope, they sure aren't.
Yeah.
Anyways, theory zone over.
Is that all the theories?
Yeah,
I think that's all I've got.
I think so.
Was there a couple things I wanted to comment on? Oh yeah, from your pod last week. I feel so. Two things I want to say. One is that I think they can do Ahsoka season 2 in the Mando movie, which would be bonkers, but I think they can do it. I don't want them to do it. I'd rather get a full Ahsoka season 2 series, but I think they could like get Ahsoka and Sabine back in the galaxy in time to sort of help out with whatever problem they're trying to solve in galaxy.
They could get them back in the galaxy
in that movie.
But I think
it could be like half of that movie.
You don't think Ahsoka and Sabine are just going to walk through a world between worlds thing and just pop out?
Yeah,
somewhere?
and that's what I mean. Like they could do that in that movie rather than in Ahsoka season 2. And that's why
I also think Ahsoka maybe. I think Ahsoka season 2 is going to come out before the Mando movie because they're already in pre-production with Ahsoka season 2.
Are they?
And TV show?
That's not announced.
Yeah, it's out there. I think they're kind of not shooting yet, but it's all written and everything.
Really? Really? Because
I thought so.
I read a interview with Rosario Dawson a few weeks ago, and she was like not saying that it was even confirmed.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is confirmed, but this is all the thing where I'm like, yeah, of course she is, because she's really good at being like tight-lipped about stuff. I just feel
cool.
I just feel like the turnaround time on the TV is so much faster than the movies that they're going to move forward on that. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe not. Because so if they do that, then they have that in play. But I hear what you're saying. Like, yes, I think they could.
I think what we were talking about that when we did talk about that was talking about like maybe what that movie amounts to, like what happens at the end with Mando and Grogu, and what the movie is essentially.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have to think this is a Sabine Wren story. The Sabine Wren rise to the mantle of Mandalore, long form. You're going to get. That's why Sabine is of central importance in.
I love that
she's actually going to be the mythosaur riding Mandalore that both Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian.
I think so.
That would explain why suddenly she has the Force and she's Ahsoka's Padawan. Like it does tie a nice bow on the Filoni verse, because like she had the title of Mandalore and gave it up, and then it makes sense that she'd get it back. That happened in the Rebels series, and then it would come back together. But
yeah, I still think the Mando movie is a backdoor Luke Leia Han movie.
Well, it's Odysseus, right?
Yeah. And I love that you guys talking about that too. More de-aged Han stuff. There was like, I don't know. To answer your.
Oh, do you have a best use for de-aged Han? Because we were like, what's yours? Top two.
Yeah, I do. And to answer your question from the last pod, so what Han is doing at this point is he has his own racing school. That's what was said in Aftermath. He does like a starfighter racing school. It's not like a fighter pilot.
The Five Sabers Racing League on Chandrilla.
Exactly that. The Five Sabers. Yeah. Like he is like a racing league, and he's not training fighter pilots. He's doing racing. Like that's what he's doing.
Because he didn't like being in the military. He didn't have the he's a thrill seeker, and he wants racing.
Yeah. Which I like. I like him not being that tied into the New Republic.
Yeah, I love that he doesn't want to be a general. Like,
which is very true to the old EU as well. Like he was always not comfortable with that role.
All right, so I'm gonna say something you guys are gonna hate. But it dovetails into what you said last week. I just think that like what to do with Boba. Like, so Boba's like safe. Boba is alive. Boba is thriving. He's just on a planet doing his thing, right? Like, which we're all
different definitions of thriving, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Wait,
you're
Boba
right.
Daimyo of Mos Espa
right.
is thriving.
Yeah, he's thriving. He's being his best self. He's doing some
small town
his him
gangster,
time.
Yeah.
He's having some mindfulness work. He's doing that sort of stuff with he meditating with Black Chrysanthemum, and by meditating I mean doing shots, whatever. He's just doing his thing. But it's like that opens up him to get like pulled into all these other missions that he doesn't want to do and be awesome.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. Like, they told the story of how like Boba came back from the Sarlacc pit, and that's a series we got. But it's like, all right, so now you can do the really fun stuff. And I was just like, I was on the plane and I was listening to your podcast, and I was like, man, if Din Djarin is like to Han Solo, I got a guy.
100%. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And then that guy shows up and it's Boba Fett, and they have to look at each other. Like, it wasn't an intentional throwing him in the boat. He was like, Han Solo was blind. It was like, I could push back a little bit on the vendetta of Boba against Han Solo, even though Han Solo was essentially responsible for that, for Boba following the Sarlacc pit. Like, I don't think there's that much bad blood, but still, like, I got a guy and it's Boba Fett that rolls up, and then it's someone else in the scene that knows who Boba Fett is, like old Boba Fett is. That I think that scene would be magic. It would be such magic.
I think
what scene? Han is in
the
scene?
I mean, you guys were talking about bringing back Han, and so I was like, if he was the guy, it would be obviously ultra awesome. Like,
Harrison Ford saying Boba Fett is just all-time moment.
All-time moment. Like, just like, oh yeah, I've got a guy. It's this dude, and it's
Fett?
Boba Fett.
Where?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Boba Fett where?
He's right behind him.
Yeah. He's like, wait, Boba Fett where? That would be really funny. And he's behind
Chewie
him.
says that Chewie growls, and then you get Boba Fett. Boba Fett where? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but Ben, I think you're onto something there, because I feel like that is how, like, that's the most Boba Fett we're gonna get again.
Yeah.
Right. Is in this movie, and it's gonna be this like, yes, I got a guy.
He could sneak into other things as doing cool stuff. It doesn't just have to be this.
I think that show was so poorly received that, like, we're not going to have him sneaking in as much as you think we are. But I do think that is the thing, is just like Filoni set it up and just like, well, now, yes, exactly. Like, we need more guys. We need a guy, or we need more whatever. And then you get Boba Fett and Fennec Shand showed up, which I'm all for. Yeah. Yes, 100%. But like, he's going to get wrapped in that way, roped in.
Yeah, but I
think you get a Hera Han moment or something, and Han's like, "There's Thrawn fella, something." You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. I feel like, to me, that's the easiest way you get Han in. This stuff.
maybe Hera's who brings Han in initially, but I just did get sort of bewitched by that sort of cameo reaction, where maybe it doesn't have to be Han, maybe it could be some other character that knows who Boba Fett is, and it's like, you're bringing in the wolf,
knows who villainous Boba Fett is versus heroic Boba Fett.
Yes, villainous.
That's the key, right? It's like, Han is not aware of.
So can I just say something that, like, I really do think the Tusken Raider stuff was just a little too definitive in making him a good character. Yeah. I think that's a huge mistake, because what you could have is have that character actually slip back into being a black hat.
That's all I want.
And that would be literally the coolest thing
ever.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I still think there's room for him to slip into that black hat role if he's brought into like some situation where he has to rely on his instincts.
He can't be a villain anymore. It's
he can't kill good guys. He can't kill good guys, but like he could mess up other cartels.
Don't care.
He will do that.
He will.
And I think that'd be good for me.
Cake and eat it too moment. Here's cake and eat it too moment. So he gets pulled away, right? He gets brought in by Din Djarin. You get your moment with Han. He goes back to Tatooine after it, and everyone's dead. Everyone's dead because he left to do this mission. And so now, like, it's the reverse. It's the reverse thing with the Tatooine, with the Tusken Raiders, right? So now he's got like ultimate vendetta. He's angry at everyone. He hates Han again. He hates Din Djarin because they took him away, and everyone.
So you know how
dead.
they can do this is if he represents sort of the Outer Rim, like that theme that happens in almost every Star Wars narrative, where it's like the people in the Outer Rim feel disenfranchised and forgotten, and it's like he could represent like I came to help you guys fight Thrawn.
Exactly.
But in that time, everyone was killed in my city, and Fennec died, who was my closest friend, and like you guys just left us like scrap, like just because we're Outer Rim dwelling, people, and it's like then he could be hateful again and sort of like not hateful, but just a
like
sort of
vengeful,
black hat, like more like just vengeful and just broken wrathful. There you go.
That would
That's
be
the word.
organic.
Yeah,
that would be super
there you go.
Organic.
Cake, eat it too.
Boom.
It's delicious.
Story broken.
Right. I mean, I would settle for him just coming in and like messing up a bunch of stormtroopers, like of of Thrawn's, like being hard to do that thing.
I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be mad if he shows up.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's no way you put Boba Fett in a movie and I'm mad. Like that's not.
Ben
that's
was
not
out here trying
reaction.
to defend Boba Fett after we like. I don't know what we did last episode. Tell you the truth, Ben's commenting on things I don't fully remember.
No,
same.
You guys didn't talk about Boba Fett at all. But you did talk a lot about Han Solo being DH, and I would love that. And I think you're right. That's where it's sort of heading. I don't know. We'll see. All right, we've now topped 2 hours.
Yep. Let's call it. Let's do it. Because God knows how long next week's gonna be.
I know. It's great to see you guys again.
Very good.
Thanks very much for listening to us. We greatly appreciate it. We've had a fun time at the bar tonight. We're going to purgle out of here. Please join us next week for the exciting conclusion of Acolyte. It's going to be wild. Yeah, it's going to be fun over here, hanging out, talking about Cantina Chronicles.
I'm fortifying my mind.